You are now tuned in to SFTB Africa.
Alright, so imagine this. You thought the first season was dramatic. Plot twists, tweets, global confusion, and then boom. Season 2 drops, no warning. Same main character. Bigger budget, higher stakes. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Trump 2.0. Now, according to Christopher Isike and Samuel Oyewole, this isn't just a comeback story. It's more like a full system update that nobody really asked for, but everyone now has to deal with it. Didn't they vote? So what is really going on? What is actually going on? Now, first things first, Trump comes back in 2025 like, I told you I'd be back. You know, in his voice. Imagine that. And he didn't just come back quietly. No. He came back with the same energy. America first, cutting spending, tax cuts, tariffs everywhere, like Oprah. But instead of gifts, it's tariff. You get a tariff, you get a tariff, everybody gets a tariff. And here is where Isike and Oyewole start raising eyebrows, because suddenly US foreign policy is not just changing, it is doing gymnastics. Now, at one point, there are actually talks or suggestions about buying Greenland, taking back the Panama Canal, even making Canada the 51st state. Canada, let that sink in. Yeah, ne? Now, the key puzzle here is this. Is this strategy or is it vibes? Because on one hand, everything is framed as national security, this, that. On the other hand, it looks a lot like expansionism, which is ironic because the US has historically been, hey guys, no expansionism, please, you know. Now it's like, unless it's us who do it, then we are the exception of not trying to continue expansion. Then comes this economic side, and this is where things get messy, because Trump basically turns global trade into a negotiation table where he's the only one holding the pen. Ally, rivals, doesn't matter. Canada, China, Europe, everybody gets hit with tariffs. There's even something called Liberation Day tariffs, which sounds heroic until you realize it's basically a global trade war starter pack. And of course, countries respond. Some negotiate and some resist. China especially is like, oh, we can do tariffs too. And it's suddenly a tariff tennis match. Back and forth. Now, here's where the chapter Chris and Samuel get deeper into, and it's honestly more uncomfortable, because Trump starts pulling the US away from global commitments. Climate agreements gone, foreign aid cut, multilateralism, not really the vibe anymore. Instead, everything becomes transactional. Like, what do we get out of this? You know? And Isike and Oyewole are basically saying this changes the entire world order. Not slowly, but not subtly as well. Very fast, in fact. But now let's bring it home, because the real focus of this chapter is what does this all mean for Africa? And the answer is very complicated, because now on one side Africa is feeling the pressure. Aid cuts hit hard, really hard. Tariffs threaten trade. Immigration policies affect thousands of Africans in the United States. There are even moments where Trump makes comments about African countries that, let's just say, don't land well. In fact, diplomatically speaking, it's not great for group chats. But here is a twist. This is where the chapter gets really interesting. Some analysts are like, wait a minute, could this actually be an opportunity for us? Because if the US is stepping back, if aid is shrinking, if global systems are shifting, does that force Africa to rely less on external support? To build stronger internal systems, to trade more within itself, to actually control its own resources better, as you've seen across numerous African countries. It's not like being thrown into the deep end, but it's actually realizing you might learn how to swim. And that's the big puzzle Christopher Isike and Samuel Oyewole leave us with. Is Trump a disruption that harms Africa, or a disruption that forces transformation? That is a question. Because at the end of the day, the world is clearly shifting. The rules are changing. Players are adjusting. Look at these international institutions. And Africa is no longer just watching from the sidelines, even if the commentary about it is still catching up. So yeah, Trump 2.0 is not just a sequel. It's more of a plot twist. The whole world now has to figure out in real time. And that is how we do it here at SFTB Africa. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am the man on the mic, Kananelo Seemahale. See you in the next one.
#We Are Media campaign in partnership with the MusicNet. Project starting from the bottom company.